Who's your emergency contact? Who should we notify in the case of death? Welcome to the USP, where I spent the last 2+ decades of my life. I'm sitting in Oklahoma. I've been there about a month. When you find out when they're calling your name for the flight at about 4 o'clock in the morning. They come through, they call your name, hey, you're on the next flight or whatnot. So by the time it gets to 5:30, 6 o'clock, if they open your door for breakfast, you're not leaving. So every Thursday, I think, I'm always up waiting for them to call my name, even though I know they're only coming every other week to go to the USP. When you've been locked down or just anywhere, when you're anticipating your next journey, when you know the hour is near that you're about to go, your body doesn't let you sleep. Every penitentiary I go to, it ends up being the same shit, different people. But still, even though I can walk every yard I go to, I don't have any issues with anybody on any yard that I've ever been on, never been ran off a yard. But I still have to be mindful that I have victims out there that might be sitting in the cut, because, for example, I spent 7 years in Atwater. Well, through the course of those 7 years, we had people come through that got smashed off the yard. I didn't personally smash some of them off. So the separtees is when they put a separtees on you, it's like if you got a victim, if you got into it with somebody, they put a separtees on you, so it's in your file saying that you can't be around this person. When I got sent to Lompoc back in 2001, I got served with 2 separate separtees, meaning I don't know who filed them, but somebody filed it saying that there was 2 other people in the federal system that I can't ever be around or be on the same yard. Till this day, I don't know who those people are because I've never filed a separatee. But, a lot of times when you're on the yard and somebody gets hit, like for me, if I was the victim, if I had got jumped off a yard, got beat off a yard, these 2 individuals beat me up, so me and these 2 got separtees. So I'll never run into these other 2 again. But being on the yard, I remember who else was there, and I'm going to know who has the authority to sanction the hit on me. So even though I'll never get a chance, I don't want to say never, but the likelihood that I'll get a chance to run into the people that jumped on me is slim, as opposed to being able to run into one of them other dudes that's on the yard. I'm a person, I don't forget. I don't forget, I don't forgive, I don't do any of that stuff. If I know I haven't done anything wrong and you jumped on me, and whoever's in the position of sanctioning the hit, if I run into you again, you might not think I have an issue with you because you didn't personally put your hands on me, but hell, I'm going to find a way to get me some get back because I'm locked up. I can't move the way I want to move. So the people that I got into it with, I'll probably never see again. So my best next option is to get people that are responsible for it. So I always have that apprehension. It's not about being scared. It's just about being cautious about where you go. Because, by the time I got to USP Florence, it's already been almost 2 decades. And I've been in funks throughout the course of my time. So who knows what or if anyone's plotting on me. But I always enter the penitentiary, every yard I go to, with that defensive mindset. Because all the times I've been transferred, I've never been able to ask or request a transfer. I've always been transferred on disciplinary transfer, or on 2 occasions, the prison I was in got too hectic and they closed it down, which was Lompoc in 2004 and Beaumont in 2008. The other times that I got moved around was for disciplinary reason. You know, when you're over there in Oklahoma, you got a lot of people that's coming through that are going to different FCIs or coming from FCIs, and now they've racked up their points and they're going to the penitentiary. Well, on this particular day, I want to share you a story about one of the Norteños that I met. You know, I didn't start doing a lot of time with the Norteños until I got to Florence. I was in Beaumont, and there was a few Norteños there, but in Beaumont, we was always locked down, and I was only there for 2 years, so we didn't really get to mingle with everybody. But on the yard, the Norteños, they're mostly from California. The ones that run the yard or whatever are going to be from California. And with the Norteños, they don't believe in race riots. Like, they're not going to side with one race against another race, because in their organization, they have a lot of different races. They have whites, natives, blacks, Mexicans, and whoever else that happens to be put on with the Norteños. You know, the difference between the Norteños and the Southsiders, when you run into them in the penitentiary, yeah, they're all Mexicans, most of them, but the Southsiders, you're going to see they're racist. They're not going to associate with blacks. You know, then, you know, they fuck with whites at an arm distance, even though on California yards, they have an alliance with the whites, but in the federal system, it's a little different. Unless the black hand and the brand are on the same yard, the whites and the Mexicans, they do their own thing. But with the Norteños, they're not racist, because like what I just mentioned before, they have a lot of different races in their own organization. But comes with the Norteños, when I started doing time with them in Florence, they have a lot of rules that are implemented in the system. One is to keep their people safe, to keep people from getting into funks and shit, get caught up or whatever. But for me, like, a lot of the rules they have is a little extreme, just because of the fact that we're all in prison. And like, you know, this is the last place, you know, for me, if I wanted to change my life or go to church or whatever, I should have done that on the streets. Now, I'm not saying that once you're in the penitentiary, it's too late to change your life, or if you're pursuing and looking for a higher power to dedicate your life to, that you're some type of buster or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying at all. But a lot of time, the majority of people that once they're behind that wall, that turn to these entities, these other things, a lot of times they're not really sincere with it. They're just trying to find a way where they don't got to put in work or hide out. But there are a few that I met along the way that are serious about changing their life and pursuing their religion of choice, whether it's Christianity or Islam. And those people, you can see that they're sincere, and you know about their history. They were some vicious dudes. They were, you know, on top of their indictment or whatever. They were men that got to a point in life where they're tired of the, you know, whatever, this life, the society and everything that's been going. And a lot of them probably know they're never going to get out. So in a way for them, they're trying to work towards the hereafter. I don't have anybody I don't have any issues with anybody that sincerely follow their heart or their faith. I just have issues with busters. So let's just, you know, get that straightened out. But, you know, but going back to the Norteños, because people have been asking me, you know, if I have any stories about Norteños. Well, when I get to Florence, there's plenty of them because they're on the yard. But going to Florence, catching the bus, I'm with a dude named June. I think he's from Oakland, from BGF. DGF. Don't give a fuck. You know, I got to chop it up with him. When I was in Florence, I got to know him or whatever. And, you know, they started out just a bunch of kids in Oakland. And in that area, it was predominantly Norteños. You know, so every time when you see a graffiti, they got the gang number, then they got the XIV, you know, stands for 14 in Roman numerals. So these kids, June and his homeboys, when they were young, they always see that. So after they tag DGF, don't give a fuck, they always put XIV behind it, not really knowing what it stood for. So when they started going through juvenile and everything, eventually the evolution was their hood became part of a branch of a Norteño gang. So when they became part of the Norteños, they fall under the NF, the Nuestra Familia, and their laws. So in the penitentiary, they have laws where they can't run up dead. They're not even really supposed to get high. They can't sell drugs. There's certain different things that for us convicts, for us being in the penitentiary, kind of be like, damn, that's a lot of extra rules over there, you know? So June, he was in El Reno, he was in the FCI, and he was doing his thing. He was bringing in work or whatever, and he ended up getting caught up. So when we're on the bus, there's another Norteño named Hennessy. That's what they call him, Hennessy. Little dude. But he was with a big indictment with all the NFs in Oakland. They gave him, man, almost 40 years. He went to trial, so he might have got more than that. I don't, you know, they had a couple bodies that were dead at a house, and then his indictment said him and somebody else went to burn down the house to cover up the body or whatever, but things didn't work out, and one of them ended up testifying against them and their crew. So we're all in the waiting room. You know, once we get to Florence, you know, you got to go through booking. You got to get interviewed by the medical. You got to get interviewed by the SIS. You know, they ask you questionnaires. Like some of the questions they asked me when I got to Florence was like, what the hell was that? You know, now when you go into the feds, they're asking you, you know, do you feel like you're in the right body? And I'm like, I don't know. I've never been in any other body. Do you know, like, I don't know the exact questions verbatim, but they were asking you if you felt like you were a girl, if you were transitioning, you've been raped, you have like different emotions going. Like, it's all fucked up in the feds right now, right? But that's besides the point. So while we're sitting in there waiting to get asked all these dumbass questions by the SIS and medical and all that stuff, we're chopping it up. And June, because, you know, I've been in Hennessy, he just came. This is his first time in the feds. June, he's been at an FCI. So the three of us that are in the conversation, they looked at me because I'm the one with the experience in the USP, and I've been into different yards. So he was a little concerned about how his people was going to approach him, just because, you know, they had rules that he weren't supposed to sell drugs or do, you know, put yourself in a situation where it could blow up. Because one of the things with the Norteños, they don't have a lot of yard to walk on because they're from California. And they're outnumbered by their opposition, which is the Sureños. There might be FCIs where Norteños can go to that is close to home, within 500 miles of California. But in the USP, all the California yards are filled up with the Sureños, so they got to get shipped off across the country. Until Florence, the closest one that the Norteños had, the closest yard they had to a California yard was Beaumont. But they shipped, but in Beaumont, after they closed that prison down, they weren't going to let any Texas dude on there no more, so they gave it to the Sureños, and they exchanged it and moved the Texas dude to Florence. So when I got to Florence, it was all Texas gang. The Texas AB, the white boys, the Texas MA, the TS, the and the norteños, So June, he heard the stories about things that go on in the penitentiary. And he's heard about incidents where one of his people violated the rules and got butchered and even killed. So he was a little concerned about hitting the yard. And he was asking me and Henny, like, what should he do? If you ask me, I'm only going to tell you one thing. Get your ass on the yard and face the music. Whatever comes with it, that's what it is. Because I told him, if you check in now, if you try to duck this wreck, you check in now, that's going to follow you wherever you go. Whatever yard you hit, you might think you're cool, but one thing with the norteños or the NF or any of these organized entities in the penitentiary, they know exactly who their members are. They know everything about their members. They keep track on them. When you hit a yard, they're going to ride a kite to where you just come from. Well, I just came from Florence. Let's say you end up in Pollock. Well, the people in Pollock is going to communicate with somebody in Florence. Hey, I got a dude here that just came on the line. He said he's one of us. What's up? They're either going to get a reply back, yeah, he's good, or no, he's not. And they don't have to say anything else. If they say, no, you're not good, they're going to chop you up. But June, from all accounts, from getting to know him in Florence and everything like that, dude's a man. He just haven't been in the penitentiary, and he was just a little uncertain about what's going on. But at the end of the day, even though he knew that there was a possibility that he might get chopped up or get killed, he nutted up and hit the line with us. And I was like, listen, yeah, there's rules and stipulation, but when you sit down and have a conversation with your people, if they're anything about what they profess to be, they're gonna recognize that you're a G and move from there. Like for me, if they were gonna hit him and move on him for trying to hustle in El Reno, then in my mind, I'm like, why would you even want to be a part of anything like that? And fuck it, if they're gonna do that, might as well go on the yard and punish him. But he hit the line, he met all his people and everything, and he was good. And through the next 4 or 5 years, I got to know him and a few other them norteños. They carry themselves a little different from other people, other organizations that I've met, but they're insistent on, being what we call man time. They have their rules in place. If you deal with a norteño, you're gonna get your money. And if that dude doesn't come up with your money, then his people is gonna butcher him. Period. Welcome to the USP.